Hey there, it's Wayfair here, where delivery and setup are as easy as a few taps on your phone. You're relaxing in an old hammock, scrolling Wayfair's app, when you spot it, a brand new patio set. Next thing you know, Wayfair delivers it right to your patio and sets it up. Oh, you need a new grill too? All right, Wayfair's got you covered. With Wayfair's Room of Choice delivery and fast expert setup on qualifying orders, life gets a little easier. Visit wayfair.com or the Wayfair app.
Wayfair, every style, every home.
Welcome to the Black Tax. There's an African proverb that says, a single stick may smoke, but it will not burn. Collaboration sometimes is quintessential for success. Now, not every person you work with is going to work out, and maybe every person you have worked with has worked out. But when you're about to break away from corporate America or your job to pursue your entrepreneur dreams, you need to build a database of individuals that you can count on for certain things. Say you want to be a baker, so you know you have a friend who always throws events, so you want to make sure that you connect with that person and build a relationship with them. Hey, I've got this new bakery I'm doing, and I know you do a lot of events. I want to send you a sample of what I do. So for your next event, you could consider working with me to help me build my business as I go out of my way to make sure your guest enjoys the desserts that I'm going to prepare for you. Or you may have a friend who's an accountant and they started a new accounting business and you want to work with them and say, hey, I can't afford to pay you this, but I can afford to pay you this. And as I grow, I can grow with you. And then you can build another relationship. Sometimes you have to build these small micro relationships in order to build your business. But while you're building your business, those small micro relationships also builds those businesses. And collectively, you all grow together. One of the things about what I do as a hybrid is that I do business and legal affairs, that I do marketing, that I do creative, that if you bring me a widget, I can do multiple things with the widget. But the problem is most people want me to do it for them for free, or they want to pay for one service and get the other three as a bonus. That doesn't work for me. I didn't get all this education for the sake of having it. I got this education so that I could build and brand and help other businesses grow while it was growing my own business. I understand people working together is an important aspect that makes sure that everybody in the food chain of what we're doing is also getting the equalness that I give them. And that doesn't always work. There are people who want me to draft a private placement memorandum for them. Oh, if I get paid, I give you the money. That doesn't work for me because you got the work. If you don't get this money, I don't get paid, but you got my work and you never have to talk to me again because you have the document that most people will charge up to $50K for. So if you're trying to raise, say, $1 million, I get 10% of that $1 million for my time and my work. But if you don't get the $1 million, I don't get the 10%, but you've got the work. So you have to be strategic when you are creating relationships with people who have the same level of commitment that you have. A lot of people want the shortcut. They don't want to do the work. I was talking to a friend the other day and we got on a conversation about Kim Kardashian becoming a lawyer. And the individual was like, yeah, she passed the bar exam. I was like, no, she didn't. She didn't pass the bar exam. So they went and looked it up. Yeah, I told you she passed the bar exam. That's a mini bar. That is, she got through the first year. She still has 3 more years to go. And it looks like she's not going to complete those 3 years because the concept of passing the bar without putting context to it, gives her the status that people would believe is what she is, but she's not. She also doesn't have a college degree, so that's another problem, but neither here nor there. The hard work you put in eventually will pay off. I have to believe that. I truly believe that. I truly believe in collaboration. There are plenty of people that I know who I have collaborated with, and they have gotten out of me what they need, and they've moved on. Somehow, some way, they always have to circle back to me after they didn't adhere to the terms and conditions that we set up. See, I can create a 3-year financial. I can do item by item. I can bring in what the earnings will come in, what the expenses are going to be. I create a sinking fund. I can do that all in a 3-year financial. I can do projections left, right, and center. I'm not an accountant. I'm not a CFO. But out of necessity, I've had to teach myself how to do that. And that was before I even got my MBA. The MBA was just because I kept hearing, oh, you need an MBA, you need an MBA. I don't need an MBA. But I realized that having it doesn't make me better, but not having it makes me better. I know it makes zero sense, but welcome to the world we live in. So when you go out into the marketplace and you go out to chase your dreams and you chase your goals, your greatest resources are going to be the people you know, because you don't know who they know and who they know and who they know. Yeah, social media is great and you can find connections here and there, or you can go on LinkedIn and you can find other connections. I have more people on my LinkedIn that I have never talked to, never met, but because of my credentials, they want the association of that. And by having that association, they believe that levels them up. One of my frat brothers would always brag about my credentials as if he benefited from those credentials in the circles of influences he was trying to influence. Now, you didn't have, you went to college, you dropped out, you chased a bunch of things that never came to fruition, but you made sure that your circle of influence were professionals and bankers and lawyers and doctors and engineers that had done all the work and gotten all the degrees. And because you floated in and out of that circle, that people would assume that you were one of them without the work. That doesn't work because somebody's going to ask a question. Where did you go to college? And you're answering in a way that makes it sound like you graduated, but you never even got through your first year. And so you have to be careful of the network you're building, that everybody is who they say they are and can achieve the goals they can. Now, I'm not saying that hitch your wagon to what they do. Absolutely not. But you want to be able to pick up the phone and say, hey, listen, I got a problem. This is what this is. How can you help? What's the best way to do it? There was a gentleman I used to work with. He was a publicist, and he would always get himself in these jams with his businesses. He thought he could read a contract and he understood what the contract was, but there are always those clauses, like I try to tell people all the time. Whenever there's a clause that's a but, if, there, when, why, how, therefore, if not, everything that comes after that is what the contract actually is versus what's above. Always gets himself jammed up. Calls me, I give him what he needs to do, how he needs to fix it, and move forward. I thought the relationship was an equitable relationship. So he is the publicist for a Broadway show. I think I might have talked about this. And I wanted to see the show. And I was like, hey, I can go to a matinee. I don't care. I just want to see the show. Oh, Malik, I can't get any more tickets. I can't. I wish I could, but I can't. And, the tickets that I have to give them to people that I really need to give them to, because I was like, okay, no problem. I understand. Oh, no, don't be mad. I'm not mad. I understand. Because one thing's for certain, two things for sure. I knew he was going to call me when he got into a jam. And 3 months later, he got into a jam. And I looked at the phone and I was like, oh, what does he need? So I answered the phone. So what do you need? He was like, I'm just calling to say hello. No, you're not. What do you need? I mean, what's the problem? Don't get defensive, because the only time you call me is when you need something. So what do you need? Let's get through it so I can say no and I can move on with my life. Well, why would you say no? Because I'm no longer opening doors for you. I'm no longer helping you. This is a courtesy call. The next one, it'll go right to voicemail. or whatever happens when you block somebody, because I'm guaranteeing I'm never going to talk to you again. Those circle of influence that become a part of your network, that becomes a part of your growth, that becomes a part of how you build a business and sustain it, are vitally important to your business just as much as the work that you have to do to build a business. No one can do this on their own. I know that. Even though I question it, no one can do it on their own. You still need help. And people will recognize that you can help them. But you got to ask yourself, can they help you? Most people can't. Most people can't help me do what I need to do. They want all the success that comes from what I do and want to say they were a part of this grind and the struggle to get here. But they don't want to do the work. So you have to make sure whomever you are building your network with is that they have just as much influence to help you as you can help them. That is a reciprocal relationship, not one-sided. Because most people will make it one-sided, and that's not what you want. So I want you to think about the people in your space, the people who are there to build and brand and help you. And then I want you to think about the people who are there who just to take. They don't have any real ingenuity. They don't really have any talent. They want the work that you've done so that it makes their life easier. But in the long run, it makes it more difficult because if you got to call me to explain it, then you didn't understand it to begin with. Choose that network carefully. Choose the people who you align yourself with as you build your entrepreneurship. Make sure that they are worth your time and not a waste of it. Stay woke. We out.